So consciousness, as far as different levels of consciousness, through the Jnana Yoga, the idea of Earth and other planets being spirited beings is mentioned. And at first I didn't know how to process that. I needed to wrap my brain around that to see if it made sense to me that stars and planets are spirited beings. Now, during this meditation that I did, when I sent that core of light down to the Earth's core and I received those magnetic energies from the Earth and my cells all focused on me and we're all in harmony and they were all waiting for my orders, that experience told me that I was connected to something that was conscious. Because there's no way that would have happened otherwise. There was energy that I was connected to, which makes sense because we are all energy. We are all made up from the same stuff, the same divine energy. And spooky action at a distance, when something happens to one, the other reacts to it no matter how far apart they are. I, at that time, had a connection to the Earth, which is made up of the same energy that I'm made up of, and I experienced a connection with it. I felt a connection with it. The Earth, I was connected to consciousness, to something conscious, something that was aware that I was connected to it as well. Because I received things, it sent me things. How could it send me things if it's not conscious and not part of consciousness? So, because of that experience, I'm trying to figure out how the Earth is consciousness. Is the Earth a spirited being? Is that even possible? What I came up with is the thought that because everything is consciousness, everything is a web of consciousness. Okay? We are spirited beings here in human bodies, but just because something isn't a spirited being, doesn't have a spirited being in it, doesn't mean that it's not conscious. You know, it's all part of the same web of energy. So my thought is, there are energetic forces that do make stars and planets conscious. They make that up. And they are at a higher level of consciousness than us, because we make up the Earth. Just like the human cells make up the human body. What is the Earth made of? The Earth is made of human beings, plants, other animals, water, all this stuff. Just like the human body is made up of human cells. Just like human cells are made up of atoms. Just like atoms are made up of protons and electrons and neutrons. Just like protons, neutrons, and electrons are made up of quarks and bosons and whatever else, and we can keep going down the line. We've only discovered so far down to this point. We've only discovered so far up to this point as well. The stars and planets, the galaxies, the universe. Now the question is, what's above the universe? What is the universe part of? What is the universe a cell of? There's a level above the universe which we don't know. It's outside of our realm. It's outside of what we can access. Somewhere up there is heaven, which is the highest level of consciousness. Whether it's a bunch of universes that make up heaven, or if it's universes that make up something else, that make up something else, that make up heaven. But it's all different levels of consciousness. So I want to tell you that, I want to give you this information, that how I see it is there are bosons and quarks and everything that is a level of consciousness, and above that, those make up electrons and protons and neutrons, which is the next level of consciousness. Those protons, neutrons, electrons make up atoms, which are the next level of consciousness. Those atoms make up cells, which are the next level of consciousness. Those cells make up living creatures, human beings and others, which is the next level of consciousness. Human beings, plants, other animals make up the earth, which is stars and planets are another level of consciousness. Stars and planets make up a galaxy, which is another level of consciousness. Galaxies make up the universe, which is another level of consciousness. So just think of it as those, it's the same structure, and we see it because, and this is a big point. The stars and planets, look at our solar system. The planets revolve in different orbits around our sun, just like protons and electrons orbit the center of an atom. The exact same structure, just on a different level. That is seen from what we experience throughout creation. It's all systematic. It's all structured the same way, just on a different level. So, if cells are living things that make up humans, why can't atoms be living things, consciousness that make up cells? Why can't humans be conscious things that make up stars and planets? All conscious. All consciousness. So, again, I understand the apprehension to, like I said, I heard this concept, and it took me a little bit to think about it over and over again, and come to the conclusion that I did, which was perpetrated by the experience that I had while I was meditating. So, I understand the apprehension to, maybe it's not an apprehension, but it's a very complicated thing to understand and grasp. And so now you have the idea in your head, and think about it and see if it makes sense. So the point of everything is that if you look at the different levels of consciousness, where in these levels, protons, neutrons, electrons, atoms, human cells, humans, stars and planets, galaxies, where along this chain is there a break, a defection, a deficit? At the human level, at us. We are the cancerous cells for Earth when we are not acting in harmony. So back to what I said previously about human beings living in harmony with unconditional love, which starts with love of thyself, and understanding that concept. If we take care of the cancer, that we perpetrate, that we are, and we become non-cancerous, we will create a world that was intended to be. A world where angelic beings come to this earth without the amnesia, as you call it, without the forgetfulness of who we are and where we came from. We're talking here, we're discussing here about my and your beliefs of where we came from and who we are. We don't know for sure. This is just something that, as humans, we're able to analyze and contemplate. There will be a time on this planet where angelic beings will come to this earth as human beings, but they will not have the amnesia. They will not forget where they came from. That's the world that was intended to be. Also without pain and suffering, because evil will be banished from this place. It'll still exist, but not here on earth. On earth as it is in heaven. That is the earth, the world that was intended to be. A garden of compassion.
The biggest living thing on earth. Mushrooms.
Okay.
They survive by sending shoots out all different directions, and they eventually pop up. That's how mushrooms come about. Underneath the ground. You don't see them growing, you don't take a spore, plant it. It's all happening underground. And it's the biggest living thing on earth.
Okay.
Because mushrooms can send up the roots for miles. That's how they spread. Underground can't be seen. What you are doing, and would really like to get other people to understand, everything is connected. Even if there's one on one side of the yard and one across the street, that's how mushrooms grow. That's a simple analogy.
Sure.
We can all be from the same plant. That's why I did the analogy about mushrooms. Is that one mushroom will pop up. That's a person. The roots spread out all over. Mushrooms pop up in different areas. They will spread out underground in different areas. That's what we are. We are the mushroom.
Basically,
that's humans.
Just saying that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's connected.
Correct. It's all connected. You can't see it because the roots are underground with mushrooms. But we are all connected, and people have to realize that.
And what we need to do is become unconditional love. When we become unconditional love, we operate in harmony with each other. We are blissful. And in turn, we make the earth blissful. If the earth is blissful, that spreads because everything is connected with the energies. That spreads to the other planets in our solar system. That spreads to the other star systems in our galaxy. Makes the galaxy blissful. And so on up.
And a little bit of proof of that, if we became completely unconditional love, every single person, and there was no non-unconditional love. When you have a glass of water, and you either say, I love you to it, that glass of water every day, something that's positive, sending positive energy towards it, if you look at it under a microscope, it'll look like fucking something beautiful. But if you say, I hate you, send negative energy towards it every day, you look at water's molecules under a microscope, it'll look just disgusting. Like, it will not be pleasing to the eye. And they've done scientific studies on that shit.
And that's amazing.
That we can, we interact with, everything. Because we're connected.
I agree with that.
And there's a response from everything.
Right.
Yeah, that was a very good analogy.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the same thing as the mushroom.
As
2 miles, one planet.
mhm.
Because all of us are the same. We all keep in the same place. We need to get together as humans, understand that, because we need to grow. We need nurturing. We need fertilizer, if you will. We need all these kind of things to one big healthy plant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
Yeah.
I believe Charles is going with.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
And how do we do that? Unconditional love. That's what it's all about. That's the most important thing. That is how we cure the cancer that we are right now. We are the defection, because evil can't influence a cell. It's not intelligent enough to receive that. But human beings are intelligent enough to be coerced by evil. And that's why it is up to us. It is our responsibility to make all levels of consciousness be where they're supposed to be. God, the divine energy, is love.
I fully agree with that.
Therefore, everything in creation is love. We as humans forget that because we forget where we come from.
And that's where evil comes in with sin, is just purely taking us away from love. God.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's exactly it. Evil is trying to get control. And if one person gets tempted, that's all Satan can do, is tempt you. My belief, he can't physically harm you, but he can tempt you. And if he does that and you go with that, you could possibly leave God. Because in my situation, the hard life I've had, the unstoppable pain, I'm not giving up on God. And that's what Satan wants to do. That's what he's working for.
Yep.
I got this monkey.
Yep.
But he don't.
That's right. And it really comes down to, it's so simple, the divine law. I live by the divine law, which is you either act out of love or you act out of evil. That's it. And that's the only law that we need.
Love for one another, is what you mean?
Love for everything. Love for creation.
Great, okay.
Which,
or even just positive energy. If it, because it's hard to understand just because, every word that we're saying is made up, just so that we can talk about it.
Yep.
And so if I say, good, that could mean something different to somebody else,
Right.
especially if they were a Satanist or something. Their good would be, killing people or something. So it's hard to completely explain that, but, if you act in love, another way of looking at it is just acting positively instead of negatively in everything you do. So, like, you don't only have to act in love as in, like, just knowing that you love creation and have no judgments or prejudice towards it. It's a great thing, but that in every single thing you do, if it's positive, it is in love.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's having love, compassion, and tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
So, compassion and tolerance for all human beings, all walks of life, no matter what their skin color, no matter what their gender, no matter what their religious belief, no matter what their sexual orientation, as long as you are positive and have compassion for that is living out of love. Absolutely.
Because, like, positive energy would create love, but negative energy just destroys. That's basically like God, Satan.
Yep.
Like positive energy, negative energy.
Yep. That's a great way to define unconditional love. It is.
And one thing that to bring home is that I like what you're saying. We're all one. We're all one. That was my analogy with the mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if somebody poisons somewhere within that root, the rest going to die.
Yep.
That is what Satan does, is to tempt us to screw each other over.
Yep.
That's why churches, religion, houses, people kill each other about religion.
Right.
Conquer, divide and conquer. That's Satan's goal.
Yep.
And that's one reason why someone who's extremely spiritual and thinks like this would realize how fucked up and stupid it is to care about money and materialistic things so much, because that creates individualism towards, a wrongful individualism,
Right.
at least. Like, dividing us because of, somebody's wealthier, so, you're below me and a piece of shit, you're not,
Yeah.
you're not me, you're way below me, you're not what I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You're,
Yeah, and that's, we live in the mundane 8 to 5 Monday through Friday world that is not what we're supposed to be. That, that keeps us unconscious.
Exactly. Right.
That keeps us from exploring
And that makes it so much
knowledge.
more easy for evil to tempt you.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to want those materialistic, mean-nothing things instead of...
Yeah, it is much more easy to sabotage an unconscious being.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because if you're conscious, I can't imagine if you're conscious and aware of what we are and where we came from, I find it hard to believe that you would live out of evil. I'm not saying that evil isn't conscious, because it has to be, but it's much easier to tempt the unconscious because they don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
And so becoming conscious is a big step in fighting evil.
And one problem, I don't know with other people, but with me is, I think Satan is really trying to screw me up so that I will say, God, you ain't gonna help me. Were you dead? You're not there. And that's what some people actually do.
Yeah.
They yell at God, how can you let this happen?
Right.
That's Satan.
Yeah.
Take control. And if you're a strong Christian, with Jesus in your heart, and God as the power, Satan's going to try that much harder. If he thinks he's going to lose you, he will put obstacles in your path. You blame God.
Yep.
Bingo. He just bought another soul.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so thank you for hearing me out with everything. I love the conversation. I love talking about this. And I love the conversation, even though we don't have all the same beliefs. At least we can be open-minded about things and learn, because nobody knows for sure. We don't know. So, keeping an open mind to be able to, on the path of discovery of who we are and what we come from, it's important to hear the knowledge, and that's why I want to give this knowledge out across the world. Because if we become conscious and we become unconditional love, the result of that will be truly amazing. And that's my life's purpose. So thank you for helping me be a part of that.
I like that. I learned a lot. I'm not sure I agree with everything, but it gave me room to think about it. And that's what I believe you're looking for, is people to think about it.
Yeah.
Then act on it, whatever your choice may be. Hopefully it'll be the good choice. Right now, a lot of people are on the fence, whether Satan's got him or God's got him or whatever, and a lot of people are neutral. They don't care.
Right.
Watch the people like that.
Yep.
If you can get them to go down to the other side, where the grass is greener, and realize people need each other, instead of killing each other over religion or stupid things.